Now, a coalition of international bodies, including UNICEF, has called on the Australian government to suspend transferring asylum seekers to the detention centers on Nauru Island. Now, over 100 organizations have signed a joint statement criticizing Canberra for its inability to provide basic amenities to those held at the detention centers. Now, the coalition said the return of asylum seekers to offshore detention centers risks exposing them to, quote, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. Now, earlier, a report by Australia's former Integrity Commissioner Philip Moss confirmed allegations that asylum seekers, including children, were subject to rape, physical abuse, and other forms of maltreatment on Nauru. Now, to get more on the plight of the refugees, we're joined out of Brisbane by Mr. Max Igan, radio host and political commentator. Mr. Igan, I mean, Australia is a country that projects itself as a champion of human rights. Why allow these facilities to remain open when there are multiple reports of horrible human rights violations coming out of them?
Look, this is one of the great shames of Australia, and it's absolutely atrocious. And it's good to see people are signing these petitions and asking the government to have a moratorium on this, but they should take it further. They should realise this is a human rights abuse of massive proportions, and the Australian government needs to be held accountable for it. I'd like to see these people taken to The Hague and tried for human rights abuses. It's absolutely disgraceful. Australia is the size, it's twice the size of Europe, and we have a population that is less than one European city. There is absolutely no reason for these people not to be able to be brought onto the continent and put in a place that is at least humane. The conditions in these camps are absolutely ridiculous. And even the ones that are allowed to come to the country are put in detention centres in the middle of the desert and subject to absolutely brutal and inhuman treatment. And it is absolutely not acceptable. It's a human rights abuse. And of course it comes from the Australian government. They may project themselves as being a great humanitarian government, but the fact is they've been carrying out a slow genocide against the original people of this country for a long time. And they're a very disgraceful government. And this is an embarrassment, and it's a crime of mammoth proportions. And I'd like to see this taken a bit further and some charges brought against these people.
And sir, and on that note, I mean, the fact that the authorities knew about many of the horrid conditions at these detention centers and took little or no action to try to resolve them is very troubling. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Well, it shows a basic sociopathic government. I mean, it is this far right-wing government that we've got in Australia has such little regard for human rights. The treatment of the Aboriginals in this country, its treatment of refugees, even the baby overboard scandal during the Howard government, which was a whole refugee thing where they said we have to keep these people out of the country because they're throwing their babies overboard. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was all fabricated. And it's all been done to promote this type of activity. Unfortunately, the Australian people very much go along with it because they're thought that this is all about economic reasons. We can't have these people coming here. They'll take over our economy. They'll take all the jobs. We can't deal with all these people. And like I said, we've got less people in this country than one European city, and we are twice the size of Europe. And there is absolutely no reason for these people to be detained offshore. It's a crime, and it shows that the mentality of these people, the mentality of this government, they simply do not care about human beings.
That's tragic indeed. Thank you there, sir. Mr. Max Igan joining us out of Brisbane, radio host and political commentator.